FFT Kizzy. I don't know what to say, man. You're not gonna like this talk session. You're not gonna like it, man. Kizzy, you're right. You're right. FFT Peak. You're right. And that's why I have a problem with this. I can't help. I gotta be the guy. I gotta say how I feel. I'm sorry. All right, so we got to talk about this. The Final Fantasy Tactics Evilist Collection got announced, and they put out a lot of details, right? Enhanced version for modern platforms. It's based on the original FF Tactics. There's a brand new UI. That's cool. No War of the Lions content. This is not good. No new submissions or new characters, fully voiced in Japanese and English. This is a lot of time. Script work and VA work and re-recording all that, that's a big commitment. And that's also, we're going to get to that. That's part of what makes this so uncomfortable. When you look at the series, you have to remember that it's not just about Final Fantasy Tactics. You have to remember that there was another version of the game published called Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions. This isn't just about Tactics and Tactics War of the Lions. You have to remember there's another game in the series, Advance. It's an entirely different game. You have to remember that there isn't just Tactics Advance. There's Tactics Advance A2. There's actually one that I've never even played this game before, but it's a mobile game version. Imagine if they would have dropped the Evilist Collection with playable modern versions of these titles that aren't locked on Nintendo DS, Game Boy Advance, that had all the content of the series up until now in ways that we could have enjoyed now that we couldn't before, you know? But there are some caveats and some reasons for why maybe some of this was difficult. The core group that's behind this game, they were recently featured in, here I'll show you, was a Famitsu interview that put the top 4 brass on this game. Like a lot of Japanese game development companies, the original source data is no longer there. They lost the source data. This isn't to say that they were mishandled or poorly managed or anything like that, but keeping that kind of data wasn't a normal thing to do at the time. There was also no such thing as online patches or updates. So unless there was a major reason to do something different, once you made the game, that was kind of it. And so the way they solved that was, he says, by sheer force. They analyzed a number of existing versions of the game and reconstructed the programming of the original. So they kind of like reverse engineered it, is what it sounds like. But there were also times where we played the original game and kind of worked it out and redeveloped it by feel. So they rebuilt the entire game basically just off of their memories and they're just playing the game and their experience, is what it sounds like. When you decide to focus on updating the original Final Fantasy Tactics rather than War of the Lions version, I and other members of this team were not directly involved with War of the Lions, but I do believe that the content in the game did fully meet expectations for players at the time. It was through considering this question that we came to the conclusion that the most appropriate path for us was to pay respect to the original game's experience and recreate that in the best form possible. So they chose to ignore War of the Lions and instead go back to the original version. And so that's a problem because War of the Lions added content to the game, like Balthier, like Luso, Onion Knight, Dark Knight jobs. We did, of course, consider the addition of new jobs, abilities, and characters, including the jobs featured in War of the Lions. However, the original version of Tactics is a very complete version from a game design and story perspective. Bro, we know that, but that is, for the player, for me especially, I'm just telling you how I feel. I don't want to feel this way. But I gotta say it respectfully, that you're not seeing it from my eyes. You're not seeing it from my perspective, man. It would only be a loss for not fans of the original game, but also those new to the title. I don't understand how you have content that you're not giving us. That's the way it is. And when you tell me, no, if I gave that to you, it would be a loss, that's so hard to look past. That's very hard to reconcile. That makes it difficult for me to be excited about this project. Brand new UI, all the QOL adjustments, new scenarios, fully voice acted. They put a lot of effort into this package, and I think that's awesome, and I'm really appreciative of that. That they would try to take the original experience and then elevate it like that. When it comes at the cost of not including all this content that already exists, that's very difficult for me to be excited about and reconcile with as a player, fan, and long-time enjoyer of this game. The hard one with this, and a lot of people, I guess, don't realize this game has PvP, but it was locked on PSP. So we never got to really experience that net play or PSP level, that PvP gameplay in a way that maybe like that we could today. Imagine it with modern sensibilities. PvP and co-op for that matter. If they would have been able to deliver on that, add a few more characters, like I said, throw in another Final Fantasy 14 character another job class, stuff like that, that would have been something that really would have elevated the package in a way that, for me as a longtime player, I could have been very excited about. Another one that I want to bring up too is like the recent Capcom Fighting Collection. For example, Street Fighter Alpha 3, there is a console version of the game that adds 4 characters that they used for the recent collection. Problem: the version of the game known as Double Upper, right, that adds Guile, T-Hawk, Fei Long, and DJ. There's another version of the game that came out after that that has those 4 characters plus another 4 characters, even more modes, more balance change. Why didn't you just use that version? Why wouldn't you just use the version with all the content? Give us all the fucking shit you have, please. That's the problem with this, and that's one reason why I couldn't get hyped to that edition. I can't get, in the same way I can't really get hyped to this. And then on the other hand, you got to look at this. So in addition to Metal Gear Delta being a complete recreation of the Metal Gear Solid 3 experience, if you give me all the content that this game has had over the past 20 years, it's very easy to be excited for. If Obama sees monkey, Obama happy. Now we have to think about Metal Gear Online. And this is one reason why this game as a remake is hitting. It's hitting for me. Because even though they said they're not going to give you the Metal Gear Online that you remember, they're going to make something new. It's a unique, new experience for me as somebody who played this game 20 years ago, however many years ago. And so now that's something I can be excited about. And this is Konami. Do you think I want to say this? Do you think I want to be like, damn, okay, get hype? But they hit. They kind of came with it. I can't lie. And when I look on the other end, I see them say, all that content, those characters, nah, that's hard to be excited for. That's really difficult to get hyped to. I don't know. Maybe I'm old man bitching at the cloud too much. You guys let me know in the comments below. But I'll holler at you guys next time. That's just how I feel.